Hello students, we are learning English grammar. The topic for today is analytical paragraph. So what is analytical paragraph? An analytical paragraph will consist of either charts, graph, data, outline, clues, tables, etc. On the basis of these things, we are supposed to write a paragraph. So that is called an analytical paragraph writing. So when writing an analytical paragraph, one should remember to describe the facts in the best possible manner and to cover the information provided. So whatever information is provided in the form of chart, graph, data, outline, cues, tables, etc., we should cover the entire information in the paragraph which we will write. The analytical paragraph has to be written in around 100 to 120 words and not more than that. So the paragraph must use clear and crisp language, easy and precise language, along with providing the complete details of the chart given in the question. So whatever pictorial data is given either in the form of chart or graph or any other form, while writing an analytical paragraph, we should mention the complete details of the pictorial information given in the form of words. There will be an internal choice given, that means there will be two questions asked. Out of those two, we are supposed to write only one. These are some important features of an analytical paragraph writing. So the analytical paragraph writing describes the given chart, data, table, graph, cues. So whatever is given in a pictorial form or in a tabular form, analytical paragraph is used to describe it. It should be brief and comprehensive. That means it should be short, it should be easily understandable, and it should include complete information which is mentioned in the chart or table or data or graph. It should state facts that are provided by the chart. It is necessary to make use of simple and accurate language. So use only simple and easier language which is easier to spell out. So we will lose less marks. It should mention figures and quantities appropriately. Figures and quantities are the numbers and the numerical data which are given in the form of either chart or graph. So whatever data is given, we should try to write it appropriately, correctly, and while copying the data from the question paper to the answer paper, let us try to maintain the accuracy. It is appropriate to use the same tense throughout the analytical paragraph. So analytical paragraph will be divided into several paragraphs as we will learn ahead. So in all those paragraphs, the tense used should be the same. No personal observation or response should be provided. So while looking at the chart or data or table or graph, we are not supposed to write what we feel about it. We are only supposed to write what is mentioned in pictorial or tabular form. It would be preferable to use the passive form of the verb. That means it would be preferable if we write in passive voice. Let us see what is the format of analytical paragraph writing. The format consists of three things: introduction, body of the paragraph, and conclusion. The introduction will have only one or two lines, and in those one or two lines we are supposed to explain the subject of the graph which is given. In case of body, we have to explain in detail what the graph is about. So introduction is about explaining in short and body is about explaining in detail. While writing the body of the analytical paragraph, we should use relevant figures, that means relevant number or numerical values which are given in the chart or graph. Explain trends. Now trends means if a set of data is given, the data will either be rising with time or it will be dropping down with time or it will be stagnant or stable. So we should explain the trends, what is the increase and decrease which is going on in the data. make comparison and contrast. So we are supposed to compare the different groups of data given, what are the similarities and what are the differences, divide into sub paragraphs if required. So it is not necessary to write the body of the paragraph writing in only one paragraph. It will be better if we divide the body into several smaller sub paragraphs. Then comes the conclusion. Conclude the paragraph giving the overall view or summary of the graph. So we end by stating the summary of the graph or chart or data or table, whatever is mentioned in the question. Let us see all of them in detail. Let us see the introduction first. The introduction is the first paragraph that should describe in brief what the graph is about. In brief, in short. It should be like an opening paragraph that introduces the reader to the context of the chart given. So it should be in short. It is the opening paragraph and it should tell us in what context the chart is given. That means what is the chart about? What is the meaning of the chart? That should be explained in introduction in short. When writing the introductory paragraph, you need not go into the details. Remember, the details are for the body of the paragraph. For the introduction, we are supposed to write only briefly. You just need to mention what is clearly evident from the chart or the graph given in the question. We just have to write what is clearly evident. That means what we can see if we look at the graph or the chart at the first glance. It is best to write the introduction in 1 or 2 lines and not more. Let us see what to write in the body of the paragraph. This part of the analytical paragraph should contain details of the graph or chart given in the question. It should contain all the important information. It is extremely important to choose the significant details. That means it is very important to choose what are the important details which are mentioned in graph or chart. The body can be broken into 2 or 3 sub paragraphs depending on the information extracted from the graph. We can write the body of the paragraph into 2 to 3 sub paragraphs. Breaking the body into sub paragraphs makes it easy for the reader to understand it. So let us see how to break the body of the paragraph into several sub paragraphs. So the first paragraph will be about organizing the information. So whatever information is given in pictorial or tabular form, we are supposed to organize that information in sequence. So how to organize the information? First, we will look at what is the large difference in the data. So the first thing which we will pay attention to in the first sub paragraph of the body is the large differences. Then we will move on to what is the smallest data or what is the largest data in the group. Then we will mention what are the similar aspects. And then we will go to the things which have remained unchanged or which are constant. So in the first sub paragraph, we will write large differences in the data. We will mention what is the smallest value and what is the largest value. Then we will mention the similarities in different groups of data. And lastly, we will mention what data has remained unchanged or what data has remained constant. In the second subparagraph, we will compare the information. So if the chart mentions 2 different parties or 2 different groups of data, we are going to compare both of them. We are going to contrast as well as compare. That means we are going to find the differences as well as the similarities. If the chart is about a particular time period or highlights trends of several years, mention each year in a concise manner. So if the data which is presented to us, if it has some groups of data which is of several years, we are supposed to mention each year in a concise manner, in a short and precise manner. In the third subparagraph, we will mention the quantities. That means we will mention the numbers and the figures, all the numerical data which is mentioned in the graph or the table. their accuracy must be ensured. That means while copying the numbers from the question paper into our answer paper, we should maintain the accuracy. We should see that the numbers do not get changed or misplaced. There are a number of ways that can be used to describe quantities. For example, percentage, fraction, ratios. So while mentioning quantities, we can use any of these. For example, if the data talks about two groups of people, men and women, and if the data mentions that there are some 500 men and some 500 women, so instead of writing the exact number 500 or 500, we can mention percentage 50-50%, or we can mention ratios in such case. In the fourth subparagraph, we can use the connecting sentences. That means if different information or ideas are there, you should use connectors or linking phrases to link them logically. So whatever data is given in the form of chart or graph, we should find what is the connecting link between the data. We should find what links those different groups of data logically, so that we can put in the fourth subparagraph. Then let us see what we will write in conclusion. Conclusion is the last paragraph. It should summarize the idea mentioned and information in general. It should be concluding in nature and act as the closing statement. So the conclusion should be the summary of the data. It should be concluding in nature. That means it should have the conclusion, the summary of the entire thing. It should act as a closing statement. That means this is the close. So we should not mention any contradictory ideas here. One should keep in mind that one must not include any personal opinions, conclusion or observations. So while writing an analytical paragraph, we should never mention any personal opinions or ideas or observations. We should only write whatever is mentioned in the question. You should simply stick to the facts. You need not dispose of the information to write a good analytical paragraph. So if there's some very important information given in the tabular or graphical or pictorial form, we should not dispose of the information. That means we should not ignore or leave out that important information. The key is to choose wisely the important information, organize it well, state correct facts, summarize it properly. So what are the key points? We are supposed to choose what is the important information. We are supposed to organize it well. That means what will come first, what will come second, what will come third. That is called organizing. Then we should state the correct facts and not our personal ideas, and then in conclusion we should summarize it. These are some very important tips for writing analytical paragraph. So for the introduction part, we can start with these phrases. These are some very polished phrases which will help us to start our analytical paragraph. So if it is a chart, we can start it by writing the chart given above describes, and then we can write whatever the chart is about to describe. If it is a table, we can start with the table suggests. If it is a line graph, we can start with the line graph shows. If it is just data or clues, we can write the data given provides information about. Or if it is a pie chart, we can write the pie chart illustrates. Then let us go to describing trends. Describing trends means describing whether the group of data is increasing or decreasing, or whether it is stable or stagnant. So for describing trends, we can use phrases and words like pattern of growth, rapidly doubled, that means becoming doubled very quickly, skyrocketed, that means increasing very quickly, increasing sky high. Striking increase also means increasing very quickly. Peaked also means the same. Soaring rates is also the same. Declined means decreasing. Plummeted means increasing suddenly. Leveled off means it is being balanced. Stagnated, that means it has just stopped. It is neither increasing nor decreasing. Fluctuate means sudden increase and decrease. Starting to rise means it has just started to increase. Starting to fall means it has just started to decrease. Drop down also means it has started to decrease slightly, that means very little. So again, these are also some very polished phrases which we can use for describing trends. So make sure you memorize a few of them. They will surely help you in writing your analytical paragraph. Then let us see how to describe quantities. We can use various styles like 40%, one third of, nearly one fourth, almost 80%, majority, average, twice as much, almost equal, the highest, the lowest, very close to, roughly, approximately, just under 3%, etc. So, while describing quantities, even if some number is given, for example, if there are two numbers, say 50 and 100, instead of mentioning the exact number 50 and 100, we can write that nearly twice, because 100 is nearly twice of 50. Or we can use some other types of ways of representation, like any of these, instead of directly mentioning what the data says. For establishing a relationship or contrast, so whenever some several groups of data is given, and if we want to establish a relationship, that means if we want to see what are the similarities, or contrast, that means if we want to see what is the difference between those group of data, we can use the phrases like these: relationship between, similarly, in contrast with, in comparison to, but in the opposite case, however, whereas, when it comes to, as opposed to, while, striking difference, noticeable difference, etc. So make sure you memorize some of these phrases as well. For conclusion and other connecting phrases, we can use overall, subsequently, in all, in a nutshell, for the chart given, in short, striking changes, including, therefore, etc. So these were some groups of phrases which are really polished and which will make your analytical paragraph look very well and professional. So try to remember these words. So this is the end of the video. We are ending here. In the next part of the video, we will see some sample analytical paragraphs. We will see some tables, we will see some graphs, and we will also see some charts. So see you in the next part of the video.